Hi, my name is Zena Desjardins, and this is my final project / executive summary presentation for training and development at Angelo State University. Well, the first thing I want to start off is thanking you for your time. I appreciate the executive directors meeting with me to go over this executive summary. I'm just going to synthesize what I have gone over in terms of the needs assessment, the training methods and training evaluation, and then what all that comprised into as far as certain recommendations that could be a really good option moving forward. So in terms of the needs assessment for this project, for the majority of the semester, I worked with the local branch of Oregon Pest Control, which is here in Boise, Idaho. I met with a lady named Casey, who is the Chief Operations Officer at this branch. I reached out to her to ask her if there was a project that she might want to work on. She was very open to the idea, and after talking with her for a little bit, I realized she actually has some really, really impressive credentials. She was one of the operations people for the Ritz-Carlton at one point in her career, so that was something that was really interesting to hear about how her human resources background has taken her a lot of different places in her career. So for one thing is the needs assessment is going to be mostly comprised of the task analysis for the position that she wanted to go over, which is the commercial invoicing specialist. Now later that became commercial accounts receivable, and the reason is that she explained to me that invoicing and accounts receivable are two different aspects of a similar job duty, but mostly this person would be concentrating on the actual collections portion. So that's what she's having trouble filling right now, because right now the position duties are tasked with the CSRs, the commercial customer service people. So that's something that she wants to get filled. So that's the position that we were working on. So for the task analysis, some of those items included balancing professional customer accounts, negotiating payment schedules, maintaining positive rapport with the customers, diffusing difficult conversations. So obviously anytime money and finances are involved, especially getting payment rendered for services, that's something that you would want to make sure that is handled delicately, because people can be very concerned with their finances for obvious reasons, and you want to be sensitive to that. But you're also a business and you need to keep your own lights on, so it's really important that those payments be made, otherwise the business will no longer be profitable, and we don't want that. So in terms of the training evaluation, Oregon Boise has a really great, strong organizational culture. That was something that I realized right away. They have something called the Red Diamond Standard, which goes with their logo, where they are really focused on making sure that customers are happy, that the interactions that they have are professional. In terms of their attire for their service specialists, they are required to wear button-down shirts, slacks. Management often wears ties, and there are grooming protocols in terms of like how men can wear their facial hair. There are some standards with that. So they definitely put a lot of emphasis in terms of organizational culture on making sure that their employees look and interact professionally with customers and are really delivering a high level of customer service. So to underscore that, their training protocols are that they do 2 weeks in-house for the for PowerPoints that are all getting people acquainted with the culture, helping them realize how it is different to work for Oregon versus other pest control companies. I thought that was really good, because I think that organizational culture is one of the #1 things that all businesses need to work on, regardless of what type of business they are, because organizational workplace citizenship behaviors are the ones that will keep and increase retention and loyalty of the employee and things like that. So that affects turnover and hiring practices as to how often they have to hire and things like that. Moving on, so aside from the 2-week cultural integration PowerPoint and classes, they do have a little bit of job-specific items, like if you're a customer service rep, how they go over phone etiquette, and then also if you're a pest service tech, going over some of the more prominent issues in the area, like this is like a mountainous area, so rodents are really common here because there's just a lot of development in the land, and so that's turning over, and so there's like gophers and rats and things like that. So they are helping their employees understand that everything that they're going to be expected to do. One of the things that I wanted to recommend was that they start using some Big 5 personality trait tests, because that is going to help them see who is more high in conscientiousness and agreeableness, because those people fit the best into new cultures without too much pushback. You wouldn't want somebody high in neuroticism, because they're going to want to they're going to have specific things that they want to do, and that might not be compatible with the organizational culture. In terms of the training methods, I mentioned that they have the PowerPoint presentation. The KSOs that they're looking for are pretty standard. They want to make sure that they are, have a warm disposition. In terms of the other aspects of the employee, you definitely want to make sure that they're somebody that wants to do a good job. So at the end of training, you're going to want them to feel that they have integrated. And I think one recommendation that I would add in addition to their current training program is to make sure that they're checking in with that person periodically, even past the training time frame, maybe for a month or up to a couple of months, that they have a constant check-in to make sure that they're making the transition really successfully, because there could have been things that arose after they finished their training that would make it maybe difficult, or maybe an obstacle to success that they may not have realized was an obstacle to success, or maybe with the person they're just not understanding, or maybe there's certain verbiages that seem really unnatural in the script, and so maybe there's some ways that can be tweaked there. And that's where management really comes in to be good managers and tailor, how can we make reasonable accommodations that are going to have a good impact on the individual and then have a good impact on the mission. So all that culminated in my executive summary, which you should have a copy in front of you. And I just really hit the highlights in terms of the needs assessment, training methods, and evaluation. And the recommendations were really heavy on the utilizing online training instead of maybe having them come into the office, and then adding maybe a few more quizzes and things like that. I also recommended looking into doing role play or vignettes of customer service scenarios so that they can kind of visualize the desired outcome, and management can have a snapshot into seeing if they are having a positive understanding of what is going to be expected of them and whether or not they seem capable of attaining that goal. So that's the quizzes and exams. That really kind of sums it all up. If this was an actual presentation at this time, I would ask for questions, comments, concerns. I would give the audience an opportunity to go ahead and ask me any questions or clarify anything that maybe I wasn't clear enough on. But overall, I'd say this was a really great project. I really liked executing it, and I felt like doing it in the real world kind of scenario, working with Casey and doing it for an established company I felt like that gave me really great real world experience. It definitely made me realize how applicable some of the concepts were and kind of made them jump off the page of the text to help me understand, like, okay, but this is a great concept, but like, how do you apply it like in an actual company? This gave me the opportunity to do that. I'm glad I went the extra mile, even though it was extra time and energy meeting with Casey and having to coordinate around her super busy schedule. But I'm grateful that she was approachable. One thing about her is that I realized she's very high in innovation. She's really interested in, under her care and management, the Orkin branch has really flourished. So she came on about 3 years ago, and they've just like blown up since then. So they're meeting all their metrics, all their desired numbers in terms of profit margins. I know that several of the employees have been able to get raises, significant ones. And so she was able to divulge a little bit of that like generic numbers data to me, and so I was grateful that she was willing to share that. Beyond this, overall, yeah, I think I learned a lot, and I'm glad I did it. And thanks a lot for the opportunity, Dr. Van Anderson. Have a great day.